Good afternoon, Speed Gaming. I am Devious RNG, joined here with Admiral Tryhard, and we are getting ready for the first match of our grand finals in the Final Fantasy Randomizer tournament. Crabcakes, the long-time spring tournament champion, or multiple-time spring tournament champion, versus Deadpulse, a recent Duckling Supreme and fantastic newer runner to the game. I am super excited about this. Admiral, how you feeling about this matchup today?
I will say I have watched both of these runners in multiple phases of Speed Gaming tournament, and they have absolutely demolished their opponents. So we are about to see a bloodbath today.
Yeah, I believe both of these runners have gone through pods and brackets without taking a loss, and whoever wins is absolutely going to be deserving of this title. We are going to be getting off here in a minute. I am noticing with our parties that are put up right now, it's interesting that Crabcakes is taking that fighter there and Deadpulse isn't, partially because of what we call blursing. These are class effects that are rolled prior to actually beginning the game, and for this particular run, that fighter has level 1 white magic and level 1 black magic available to it. So CC is really taking a chance on having good magic here in Canaria, and there our runners are off, and we're going to see what happens here.
Level 1 white, kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
But level 1 saber on a fighter.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's not great black magic when it comes to a black mage, but having that early saber on your fighter actually could do amazing things for CC here in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's, as you're saying in chat, it's a free bonk for the fighter.
Yeah. Well, and then you never know with these flags. I really enjoy the flag set here for Speed Gaming Live. We have some decent scaling on our bosses, but nothing really crazy. And so you can end up having a chaos that is a very low-level chaos that you don't really need the extra bonk casts, or you could have a chaos that's about 4,000 HP and really have to prep for that. Both of our runners are taking an interesting pathing. You don't usually see this in this flag set. They're both going to check these boxes, and we have about 18,000 in gold in that first chest, which is going to be a huge boost for both of our runners coming into these first couple towns.
Yeah. Earlier, you were talking about some scaling, and you mentioned chaos scaling, but instead I want to talk about some party scaling with the thief right now. This thief, he bulky. He's got extra HP and extra vitality, and for those of you that don't know, vitality increases your HP growth. So this thief is going to be one of the healthiest classes you'll ever see.
Yeah, well, and the other big aspect of the thief is the running ability. That white mage does have +5 luck as part of its blursing, but when you look at the grand scheme, +5 luck on a character that's not going to get a lot of luck throughout the game isn't the greatest. So you can see both of our runners bringing in that thief just to make sure that you have that backup run ability.
Yep. The things look even better for thieves because in the flag set, we actually buffed a lot of things about thieves, right? We gave them an extra 100 agility, so they're dodging everything. They get better. They get, preemptive strikes more often. They get ambushed less. And so you naturally see them up front. Yeah,
they've absolutely become a big bonus for a lot of our parties. You see a lot more thieves being run this day. And I do see Hate the 13th in chat putting in the blursings for our individual characters. As they're fighting Vicky here, do want to give you a little bit of background. all of our characters had two blessings and one curse, which is the first two options you see there from Hate's listing, and then one malice, which is kind of a deficit. We also have a limited party pool. So in this particular run, we had 2 black mages, 2 fighters, a white mage, and a thief. And those were the only classes that you were allowed to take. And like I said, Hate putting on here, your black mage had plus 20 agility, plus 15 MDef, and minus 1 hit percent per level. The white mage had plus 20 strength, plus 5 luck, and no bracelets. The thief had plus 30 HP, plus 20 vit, and cannot wear a pro ring. And those fighters have level 1 white magic and level 1 black magic, but they get minus 1 MDef per level.
Alright. Thank you for all of those blessings, Hate. And that bracelet malice on the white mage really hit hard, as we saw a very cheap and very blessed gold plus 4 bracelet in Provoca for less than 10k.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're seeing here, you can tell that Deadpulse is very much trying to do as little prep as possible and just trying to blow through as much of this seed as he can. You also saw before he jumped into Marsh Cave, burning off a couple encounters. The encounter table in Final Fantasy Randomizer is randomized for every single run, and so you're watching our runners try to figure out exactly how many steps they need to walk before getting their first encounter, second encounter, and so on, and they're trying to actually map out exactly when they should go down into a dungeon to maximize the number of steps before they get their first encounter. That is called encounter manipulation, and we will be talking about that periodically throughout this run.
Now, while you were talking about encounter manipulation, Crabcakes' preparation has paid off with a level 3 exit.
Yeah, and we're also seeing here on Deadpulse's screen pulling up mages for that trap tile, which was not good news until it went down with like 70-some hit points. So, yep, I was wondering if Deadpulse was going to be taking an extra encounter or two here to see if he can get some extra experience. Mages are typically a later game character, or enemy, so it's a decent amount of experience at this point in the game.
Yeah. The downside to that is that in the vanilla game, mages had scripts, and we randomized those scripts. Mm-hmm. So mages could have, I don't know, plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and now you're also seeing Deadpulse getting the rough side of Marsh Cave, which is not only do you need to go down and pick up that key item, you also need to walk out.
It will be good for the levels, though, to just take a few of those levels on the tile.
Yeah. Though, speaking of levels, I'm seeing in chat a number of conversations about CC going in and picking up some extra magic in Elfland, unlike Deadpulse. And CC finding Exit at level 3, and it looks like doing a little bit of level grinding to be able to get at least one cast of Exit heading down into Marsh Cave. So you might actually see CC catch up to Deadpulse simply by casting that one Exit spell.
Yeah, I mean, Exit effectively halves the length of the dungeon, but it was a one and done for Deadpulse, so that walking grind at these early levels, it kind of makes up that difference.
Yeah.
It makes the later dungeons safer.
Yeah, well, and now what's going to happen is Deadpulse is going to do the walk around to our Elfland shops. He's going to pick up Nuke here at level 3 for his black mages, which means that Deadpulse is going to have 2 Nuke casters in his party, whereas CC's only going to have 1 Nuke caster. We're seeing Heal 3, Ruse, Life 2, and Exit at level 3 white, which is some very, very good magic.
Some things to note: that Ruse is not night learnable, but the Life 2 was, so...
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge thing for CC coming into the late game. The only thing is she would need to promote to get that, and we don't quite know where promotion's going to be. We do see Quad X here at level 4, which is by far my favorite black magic spell, and level 4 white is really not saying much. But Deadpulse is about to get the pleasant surprise of a pretty cheap floater here, though having spent most of his money already. He's probably going to do what he can to scrounge up some extra gold.
I mean, that floater isn't really needed till you have the canoe, so you can always come back for it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So just so people who are familiar with Final Fantasy Randomizer or not, in the typical Final Fantasy game, wow, totally lost my train of thought.
You need the canoe in order to access the desert for the floater. There you go.
Oh, thank you very much. I was like, I knew I was going somewhere with this. Yeah, you need that canoe to access that floater. Also, there is something special on these flags that were turned on, and that is concerning the Crescent Lake Sages. Typically in Final Fantasy Randomizer, we have what's called an Early Sages flag, where you can get the key item from the Sages without having to go into Earth Cave. That flag has been turned off for these tournament flags, which means if our runners want to get that key item from the Sages, they have to take out Lich first. So you might see a little bit of a different routing than you're expecting, simply because they have to make up for that Early Sages flag being turned off.
Yep, this flag set, it definitely feels random, but you'll see a lot of the routing can take a lot of vanilla steps. Yeah, well, especially because we have Northern Docks turned off. So if you're wondering why our runners aren't saying, hey, I have an Oxy Ale, I'm going to go run over and try to dive sea early, then the reasoning is because they can't get to Onrak. Yeah. I agree with that. The other reason is that they're level 7.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And we're getting our second route divergence here. Deadpulse is very much trying to dive some of these dungeons early, looking for a couple extra levels, maybe some extra gold here, while CC is going right into Melmond to rest up and then make her move to her next location.
So, I talked about that script shuffling earlier. Only enemies that have scripts are going to have it be shuffled. However, zombie dragons do not have scripts, so all they can do is punch you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very... Fire's not so much. Though, I guess with Ice 2, you have a nice little option there. But yeah, Deadpulse getting a little bit of extra... gold, a little bit of extra experience with this. But as Deadpulse is picking up some of these extra levels, you see CC going up here to Northwest Castle and getting a TNT for that crown turn-in.
Yeah, so Deadpulse's play, it makes sense because if you find the grind tile you want early on, then it's a huge advantage, especially with mages and getting nuke charges.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things these runners have been seeing, especially in their bracket runs, is some really nasty chaos fights where they've had to bounce out and try to find a quick grind tile to get levels before being able to actually take out chaos. And I'm wondering if that's in the back of Deadpulse's mind of, I need to have some idea of where I could go if things go bad. So I agree. I think there's that mindset of needing to find a decent grind tile is on his mind.
Yeah. I am not as familiar with Deadpulse's skills compared to crabcakes, but I know a lot of runners, whenever they're facing such a strong runner like crabcakes, they need to think, where would my advantage be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Deadpulse is fantastic in execution in the same way as CC is. And you can honestly see a little bit of Deadpulse trying to take some risks, hoping that CC gets caught up somewhere. And as noted in chat, TNT turned into that canoe. Crabcakes has already bought her floater from Elfland Shop, so she's going to be in the air with her airship at right under 14 minutes. And that's going to open up pretty much the entire rest of the map for CC. And we'll have to see how she decides to route this.
Yeah, Deadpulse doesn't need too much more money to get the airship, so it should not be a huge time sink.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, in 14 minutes and 15 seconds, CC is up in the air, and she's decided to go north. She's making an early ice play. I believe we found warp earlier. And so I can, especially with the, especially with warp, ice cave become very, very quick. So this definitely makes sense from her. I could absolutely see Deadpulse making an ordeals play as opposed to an ice play, but we'll have to see what happens when he makes his way
Ordeals
over to...
is faster via ship versus airship, so I 100% agree with this play. It lets you scrounge up the money to get the airship. It's a technically faster check, and there's the eye tile.
Yeah, that eye is one of the highest experience enemies in the game, and the fact that CC found it on a very nice grind tile definitely is helpful for her.
Yeah, although it seems that I don't think the runners found warp. You're probably mixing up exit.
Probably.
Crabcakes did not do the warp trick, which I'm sure is very familiar.
Yeah. Ooh, and she picked up a lock sword, which is very nice to know that she has, especially doing a fighter-based party. Oof, and pulling up seafood here on the key item trap tile and just getting some nasty turn order. And that is absolutely not what CC wanted to see. The tail is the key item that allows you to promote your characters. For CC's party, I think that's good, but in terms of progression, it is definitely not what you wanted to see in that box.
Yeah. For most of these seeds, I see runners typically get some of the non-necessary incentives, things like Masa, Ribbon, and the tail. Like, all of them are really great things, especially because the black belt was kind of pushed to the side with this flag set. You just finished too early in order to constitute a black belt grind up to 32 or 42.
Right. And as mentioned in chat, CC's doing the promotion play. I think that's absolutely what she should be doing right now, especially with the fact that she can get that knight up with life from level 3. And just having the versatility. Yeah, absolutely the good play. It's gonna make it interesting when we get to late game as to how much of a benefit that fighter's gonna be over that second black mage. We'll have to see how it goes.
Not get too much money from these boxes.
Yeah,
it might be just enough though, with all the equipment you could sell.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything really fantastic in any of these boxes.
Ordeals gave us the herb, which perfectly leads back to the floater shop.
Right. Well, and if this herb has the key, that would be a huge step up for Deadpulse, because if that key would open up our key item in the water dungeon, and that would give him an advantage over Crabcakes' routing.
But nope, funny adamant.
Yep. And Cece has already made her way up to the Onrak continent, and she is diving that waterfall first, just taking full advantage of exit with her party. Deadpulse buying his floater, and he's going to be exiting out to make his way over to the Raycon Desert to pick up his floater.
Yeah. Yeah, it did seem that Ordeals did give just enough for that floater, and the extra key item being adamant. We'll see what it turns into.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what that is. I mean, especially again with how these end games are turning out with some really nasty chaoses. You know, even if it's the incentive ribbon, that can be a huge step up. Because, you know, if you end up getting crack or zap or something like that from chaos, that can do a ton of damage to your party. And CC getting the bad news of Crystal here in Waterfall. I doubt that she's gonna go out and do. Well, actually, you know what? Do we have anything to kill Kraken? We have Nuke, we have Quad X, we have Armor, but I'm not sure we have anything that would actually take down Kraken 1.
We also have some invis strats for evasion tank thief.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it looks like CC decided to nope out of trying to do the early.
Same reaction.
Yeah. Deadpulse getting the short end of that stick with the eye. Luckily having life 2, and he's going to be going down through this to pick up. I can't remember what was here. His tail. While CC is getting the chime from turning in the crystal to Matoya's cave.
So I think that Adamant's going to turn into some required progression.
Yeah, it definitely could. I mean, yeah, you're right. I don't see anything else that we could go to or get right now.
So that routing actually ended up in Deadpulse's favor.
Yeah. A lot of logical deduction happening here in chat. I mean, Adamant could also be... I mean, we could also have Adamant to Slab, we could have Adamant to Bottle, we could have Adamant to... I mean, we could even get Cube and end up having to dive Sky first. There's a lot of options out here depending on what Deadpulse finds out from this Adamant turn-in.
Yeah, but the one thing we can safely say is it is required progression, and the fact that you don't have to walk across a huge stretch of land like crabcakes is doing right now.
Right.
It's a nice advantage.
Right, and this is Deadpulse's opportunity to overtake CC. He's got a little bit of a level advantage. CC had the airship advantage, but now that's being traded off.
I mean, Deadpulse did not. He only went to Ordeals, which is faster via ship, and then immediately got the airship. So that hypothetical advantage from the airship was actually a negative.
Well, and there's your Adamant to your Slab.
Here we go.
Yeah, well, so Adamant to Slab. Adamant came from Ordeals. Crystal came from Waterfall. So, again, it comes down to this Slab turn-in. I mean, I can imagine that Deadpulse is going to beeline it to the Slab turn-in instead of trying the Waterfall first. And
Deadpulse needed the level 5 magic.
Yeah. Well, and if... Alright, so if Deadpulse ends up getting the cube here, that's good for CC. If Deadpulse gets anything but the cube, I think that means he has a little bit of an advantage before over CC does. And question in chat, is this castle randomized? The answer is yes. The Pillar Maze is randomized. In the vanilla game, you always chose the...
just go down.
Yeah, the bottom transporter. But here, our runners have a completely randomized Pillar Maze, and so they have to deduce the proper pathing through the Ordeal's Pillar Maze as they're running through the seed.
Alright, Deadpulse, with that level advantage and promotion, is going to start seeing a bit earlier spell slots on the ninja.
Yeah, well, and Deadpulse, the benefit for Deadpulse, you know, CC had that fighter, and the fighter can already equip a ton of weapons and armor, but the thief can't. So for Deadpulse, this promotion is very nice in terms of... And Deadpulse finding some blue stake here pretty quick off the power cycle. I'm kind of surprised to see him pulling out so many leveling opportunities early, but that's a very, very pretty thing to see.
I mean, you promoted, so might as well take full advantage of the promotion.
Exactly. And for those of you who are newer to Final Fantasy Randomizer, Blue Stake, that T-Rex there, is the highest experience overworld enemy in the game. And so being able to do a hard reset and getting that encounter very early is definitely a good thing for any runner to find.
And to build on that, the hard reset, technically, it always puts you to the same spot at the start of the encounter table, so that's why it's so easily recreatable to grind on T-Rexes in the overworld. Hooray!
Alright, so just to give a little bit more of a background, because like I said, you know, we've had a lot of stuff happening here. We're 25 minutes into the seed. We have most of our key items. So just to give you a little bit more of a background on some of the things we've said, I think you said it right, Admiral, that explaining encounter tables is kind of important if you're new to this game. So in Final Fantasy Randomizer, you have a step table that's approximately 256 steps forwards and backwards, and that determines whether or not you're going to get an encounter in the overworld. So there's two different ways that you can reset the game. If you do a hard reset, which is akin to powering off your console and turning the power back on, it brings you right back to the very beginning of that table. So anytime you do a hard reset, you know exactly how many steps until your next encounter. The encounters are always going to be the same thing, and it's a very good way of maximizing your routing efficiency if you understand when those encounters are going to happen and what those encounters are. A soft reset is akin to hitting the reset button on your console and maintains your current location on the encounter table. So if you're 500 steps in and you do a soft reset, you start at step 500. If you do a hard reset, you start at step 0. So that's a very overview of how hard reset and soft reset works in FFR.
Yep. And earlier you saw, say, Deadpulse burning off some encounters before diving a dungeon. It's because Deadpulse knows if I hard reset, I take this many steps, I'll get this encounter, this many more, I'll get the next encounter, and so on and so on, for how much encounters his memory can hold.
And Deadpulse has a lot of memory to hold. And this is beautiful. At 27 minutes, we are at a convergence. As you noticed, CC went directly into Earth Cave and got those couple quick encounters at the beginning. Deadpulse burned off those 3 encounters and got an encounter a little bit later in the dungeon. One of the things that's going to happen is, depending on which floor you're on in the dungeon, is what types of enemies you might run into. And so we might actually have a divergence in the types of encounters our runners have in this dungeon. And if they end up having some sort of a nasty script, that honestly can make the difference between surviving the dungeon and not surviving the dungeon.
Yep. Now, it seems to me that Deadpulse is still maintaining a level advantage.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to tell when they menu so fast.
Yeah. Though I can say, and just to know for these particular flags, we do have a key item here that's locked behind progression. So that's why you see CC jumping up here to the northern set of chests, is because she knows that there has to be a key item in one chest on this particular floor. Finding that Opal +1 bracelet is the strongest armor in the game for one of our mage characters. Except for, is it the white mage that can't wear
the white
bracelets?
Mage is cursed to avoid bracelets, hating jeweler.
Yeah, and so that's going to be an advantage. Oh, actually, you know what? Both runners have a white mage. So Deadpulse throwing that right on a black mage, which makes perfect sense. And our last box here is the key. And so now that CC has that incentive item, you're going to see her beeline it straight up to Lich.
Yeah. Now for bosses like Lich, I think it's much quicker to just nuke them down.
Yeah, one of the nice things about this game is most of our final bosses actually have a weakness to an insta-death spell. So Lich here is actually weak to both Quake, which we refer to as Cake because it's spelled Qake, and Zap. And so you notice here, because of the encounter table difference, we have Deadpulse picking up Lich before CC's able to get down there, throwing out 2 nukes for almost vanilla HP both. So that Lich must have rolled up close to the highest HP possible. And Deadpulse at right under 30 minutes is our first runner to light an orb, and he is making his way, it looks like, over to Crescent Lake here to pick up his next key item after having defeated Lich.
Now, with this in mind, we can definitively say that Deadpulse has a lead because level advantage, he's went and bought more spells, he's done more prep work, and he's further ahead in progression, but it's a very small lead.
You know, I don't know if we can say that because CC already did Waterfall. CC did Waterfall. She picked up the crystal, and she got her chime. So
I actually forgot about that. So yeah, never mind. I'm done.
Well, okay. So there's the cube. We might see another route divergence because if CC picks up this cube, she has the option of doing either Sky or Sea, and Deadpulse is limited to doing just Volcano and Sea. So we'll have to see if she ends up making the choice to do her preferred Sky, or if she's going to decide to kind of do more the vanilla progression and do on-rack faster.
Yeah. Although I highly expect both runners to just dive Volcano because it's right there. It lets you prepare for the harder dungeons.
Yeah.
A little bit, at least.
Well, and as someone just pointed out, CC is now in go mode. CC has absolutely everything she needs to finish off this game, save lighting 3 of her remaining orbs. And she's heading... Where is she going? She's going to on-rack. Yeah, she's heading directly to on-rack. I'm curious what she's going to do here, though, because she knows that there's only 2 incentive items left. There's the Masa, and there is a ribbon. And, well, there's a Masa, a ribbon, and it could be a bottle. So,
I mean,
whatever she picks up here is going to lead to either the Masa or the ribbon, and the other one's going to be in Sky. Yeah, and to answer the question in chat, yes, we do have some quality of life features here on the randomizer. So the lava tiles are no longer flickering, and they've also disabled the flickering on spell casting. So if you've ever seen the original game, there's quite a lot of flashing, like if you had seen that nuke, but that has been turned off for quality of life purposes. Ribbon finding, or CC finding that ribbon +1, which might not be what she wanted, but I
honestly,
think...
for the fighter with less M death, for the final fight, I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, she's got to... Alright, so she knows that the... Alright, so what we know is, we know, and it looks like she knows, there has to be a bottle in Sky. Sky has the most chests that you would need to check, and you can burn a ton of time on it, and she doesn't have a very good sword at the moment. So she either needs to hope that she picks up something in one of these chests for her melee weapon, or she's going to have to start opening boxes for that Massa in Sky.
Yeah, like, whereas Deadpulse, you can always just spam magic.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, right now, like, that's kind of becoming the difference. CC relying on that fighter instead of two black mages means that CC only has 2 nuke casters, and Deadpulse has 3 nuke casters. It might not seem like a huge difference, but once you get into to Topher, those extra nuke casts make a huge difference. Well, and you can see here, you know, CC casting Aether, Invis, and Saber, just trying to buff up her party enough to be able to take out Kraken.
Oh wait, 200 on a ninja? That's a hard-hitting Kraken.
Yeah. 330 there for that second. Kraken is going to have, what is it, between 400 and 1600 HP. CC already diving into that a little bit, but really doesn't have a lot of damage output. Really, it's just up to that fighter at this point. Kraken doing another hit on that. Oof. And was that 1 hit for 17 damage?
Yep. Looking for the lock sword. The fighter has it, so he can't buff himself and do damage at the same time. This looks rough.
And there goes that Invis caster. 9 hits for 199 damage, 3 hits for 61 in return. Off to heal pot strats, CC is in trouble with this Kraken fight. 2 hits for 36 damage, she's already done at least 500 or 600. They're up, and there's the reset from CC. CC, if I'm CC, I'm nervous. She knows she needs a sword. She's trying to figure out where she's going to get it. I think she's making the right decision to nope out and head over to Sky. This is going to give Deadpulse a chance to catch up, and we'll have to see how lucky CC gets with these Sky checks.
Well, CC really does go for Sky for a reason. It has probably treated her very well.
Yeah. Well, and one of the benefits of Sky is it's, as the late game dungeon, it is containing the highest experience enemies. Deadpulse picking up a nice experience fight here as well. But right now, like, you bring up levels, and I think someone brought up levels in chat. CC hasn't been taking these extra fights for levels that Deadpulse has been taking. So Deadpulse not only is going to have a different Kraken in the sense of having 3 nuke casters versus 2 nuke casters, he's also going to have extra levels, which means extra charges, and has a much higher probability of defeating Kraken here.
Deadpulse finds the ribbon and gave us quite the spectacular eye roll. And he's just gonna nope. He's gonna exit, save, restock, and dive Kraken, keeping those spell slots reserved because Kraken is one not to be underestimated.
Yeah, I love these cameras. You can tell that CC's getting nervous, which is not really something you see out of her as a runner. You don't really see her making input mistakes. She's very crisp and clean, and you can see that she's feeling the pressure. She has clear respect for Deadpulse as a runner, and as it's demonstrating, this is going to be one that's probably going to wind up being a neck-and-neck race here at the finish.
Meanwhile, Deadpulse he's getting a little impatient with what these key items are revealing after seeing that ribbon. He's like, time to go through. It's like, it's not like nervousness, it's more like annoyance at the scene.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and we still haven't seen anything come out of these chests here in Sky 1. CC moving on to Sky 2. Again, we know that this is not going to be a Massa. It's going to be a bottle that leads to Massa. I think she's also hoping for maybe an X-Cal or a Katana or a Vorpal in one of these chests, just to give her something to throw on that night to do a decent amount of damage. And there's the bottle and the vanilla box there, and Cece deciding to nope out instantly and head over and pick up her Massa.
I mean, if you can't even deal damage to Kraken, how do you expect to take down Tiamat?
Exactly. Well, especially when you're trying to take down Tiamat, also knowing you could run into an unrunnable war mech there on the Bridge of Destiny. Cece also finding Temper here in level 7 Black, which could end up being a huge thing for her.
Kraken goes down to a bunch of nukes.
Yep. Three nukes, and there is a water orb lit for Deadpulse. So it's 3 orbs to 1 right now. Deadpulse v CC. The advantage is CC has already gotten her chime. Deadpulse still needs to make that move. She's about to pick up her Massa and get a little bit more on the attack. Massa plus 1.
Yeah, that plus 1, like that extra crit rate on an already busted sword is just so nice.
Yeah, CC taking some sandwiches here in the desert. Deadpulse getting his chime. Deadpulse now in go mode, knowing that he just has to take down Tiamat.
Yeah, I just noticed Crabcakes just hitting level 13. Deadpulse is 18 or 19 right now, so that level advantage is very big right now.
Yeah. Yeah, CC pulling up steak and wings, as we like to call it, the Tyro and the Wyvern here. Another very good experience encounter, not nearly as good as the T-Rex, but good enough that you'd want to take it.
So, Deadpulse, feeling confident with the equipment he's got, just running through, knowing that the Massa, or the bottle to Massa, is in Sky. This race will come down to a battle between nukes versus a very long sword. Was that a Roostic I just saw? It was.
Yeah, that is a rude stick.
The dodge tank ninja when you find a Roostic is just so good. Deadpulse plans to probably just nuke down Tiamat. Yep, nuke. These are some low-rolling nukes, not the best output.
Yeah. Well, and this is that difference between relying on the melee character versus relying on the spell casting. You know, Deadpulse is going to start running out of charges here. Only doing a couple hundred damage each. Tia rolling between 500 and 2,000 HP. Continuing to do this little bit of chip damage here, but we'll see what Cece can do with this massa that she's got.
Oh, the final nuke killed Tiamat.
I'm sure Deadpulse is breathing a sigh of relief there. And at 44 minutes, Deadpulse has all 4 orbs lit. He's ready for that dive into Topher.
Now, how do you kill Chaos if your resources are limited?
I think that's the big question. I mean, it looks like Deadpulse made the decision to not go for that bottle, deciding instead to rely a little bit on those magic strats. I don't know if he has a decent weapon to give to that ninja. But
he might grab
we'll see.
these boxes in the short Topher because there's a lot of them. Or not? No, just going. We got Lich on the right side. Always happy to see that. One nuke.
Yep. That's a low rolling Lich 2 there. We'll have to see what the next one is. And you know, if we're talking about
carry. It's a dream run.
That's exactly what you want. The lowest 2 bosses here on the same side. Nuke coming out for 113. Carry a 1-hit punch for 49 damage against the ninja. And less than 400. Jeez. This
is Deadpulse's dream seed. He just needs a good chaos.
Exactly. This is all coming down to whether or not this is a bad chaos. Deadpulse is clearly ahead by 2 orbs, pulling up chaos here before Cece can even light orb 3. This is fantastic for him.
So we're gonna see saber strats come out from the ninja. Saber wall, like extra is.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want. Get those sabers up. Sabers are going to increase the damage output by that ninja. Chaos with a lit 2. That's great news again because you've got that wall out with the white mage swinging with
2 hits, 2 damage.
And there's
Rollwell. Yeah.
There's the bad news right there.
I mean, the ninja does have like 2 more sabers.
Yeah, you really got to rely on the saber. Yeah, and okay, HP wise, we're looking at 268 for the white, around 400 for the ninja. The highest roll for a spell that Chaos could throw is 400 HP. Seeing Ink come out as a skill is again just more fantastic news. Going with the Brack from the Black Mage, also throwing out some more Invis. Chaos with stun, not really going to do much. 5 hits for 111.
Ineffective Brack. Just having the Black Mage, but I would have him cast Nuke. Or, well, it doesn't matter, but...
Yeah. Yeah, now it's really just a matter of, is that weapon coming out of that ninja going to be able to do enough damage to Chaos before Chaos, you know, ends up doing Chaos things? 2 hits for 104. There's a miss, a nice little punchy Chaos. Heal 3 coming from that white mage. Fire 2 is just going to be doing chip damage. If it's chip damage versus chip damage, this is a very, very nice thing for Deadpulse.
I think the ninja's rocking a lock sword. So, I think that's the equivalent of the Bane sword.
Yeah, yeah, most likely. If it has the little sword icon next to it, I believe so. Again, I think we've seen like Chaos back to lit 2. I think we've seen a lot of Chaos's spells and skills. There's Fire 3. That's new. Heal 3 coming out 2 hits for 13. Oh, and there goes the White Mage. That is really bad news for Deadpulse.
It is the Bane Sword -3.
And I believe Cece... Yep, Cece is lit, you know... Does she only have 2 orbs, or does she have 3? I thought she had lit another one. But, oof, and through max evade, Chaos just hitting that ninja. Deadpulse throwing out some heal pot strats. Chaos is going to continue to do a little bit of this chip damage. Deadpulse is very much looking for Chaos to throw out some sort of physical attack, hopefully getting a miss. Chaos with Nuclear is his next skill, and Deadpulse is bounced out. That was probably a 4 or 5 minute Topher dive.
I would check those boxes myself, because, like, what do you have to... Or, you're up against crabcakes, so you just never underestimate, but those boxes are right there, and you have a not good sword.
Yeah. I mean, this is Deadpulse's worst nightmare, and Cece's, like, only hope is the fact that this extra time that she put in to take up this Massa is going to be a huge boost to her. With that sword not doing anything for Deadpulse, it's not good news. The Tia and the Lich are paper, but being able to do enough damage, man, again, that Chaos can roll upwards of 4,000 hit points, and that has given Cece enough time to light her last orb. I think she's heading directly into Topher, and considering how this has gone, if Cece goes right, they're going to be pulling Chaos at the same time, and we're going to have to see if Deadpulse is able to pull this off before Cece can get in. Because if it's the difference between Massa +1 versus a lock sword, Massa +1's going to win this. So Deadpulse with nukes, around 260 out for that first round, continuing on with the sabers and the fast. I think last time one of Deadpulse's black mages got taken out in maybe the first round, so this is giving some extra nuke casts. Nuke coming out again, 162 is a bit of a low roll, going full hog on the nuke strats, and saber, I like it. Heal 3 coming out to try to maximize the number of nuke casts you're going to get out. Cece pulling up Carry 2. Carry 2 is now down. 226 going off to Chaos. More nukes coming out.
Get those ninja nukes out as well.
Exactly. I mean, Deadpulse is recognizing he's not doing that
Massa.
much.
Here we go. Double Chaos.
Exactly. Well, we also have Fast and Cece with the Ruse Stick getting bad luck hit. Cece also throwing walls out to her Black Mage. Slow 2 getting thrown out against Chaos to do a little bit of extra protection. Over on Deadpulse's side, we're out of nukes. We got a nice...
There goes the Black Mages. Ugh.
Yeah, and now it's nukes coming out of that ninja. It's the sword coming out of the ninja. The White Mage has heal 3s. Cece doing some heal pot strats and Invis 2. It looks like Deadpulse has to rely solely on that ninja now. Cece starting to move to her sabers. Saber. Cece's kind of stuck in what to do. Deadpulse throwing out some more lock. We got to remember that there is that nuclear that's sitting deep into Chaos's skill list, and you got to wonder how long is it going to take before Chaos is able to get there. It looks like Cece getting 400 hits with that first swing of the Massa, which is exactly what she wants to see. It's more than any single nuke that Deadpulse could throw out. 5 hits for 560. Lit 3 takes out more of Cece's party. Again, it's Lock Sword versus Massa. Deadpulse trying to keep it alive as much as he can. 7 hits for 465. Cece just throwing out damage after damage after damage. Now it's just up to that fighter. Oh, and Cece taking out Chaos. Just coming up from behind with that Massa. And there's Deadpulse.
10 seconds later, Deadpulse finishes.
GG's to CC. Wow. That is an incredibly close run between these two runners. It really ended up coming down to Massa +1 versus Lock -2 sword, and it was just 2 rounds that made the difference for CC. We're going to see CC's stream drop here for a second because she has to restart her computer. But we will be picking up and rolling another seed in just a couple minutes here. But
oh boy,
good heavens, what a run. If you wanted to see a Game 1 for a grand finale on these flags, you just saw it with fighter strats versus mage strats, both taking 2 completely separate thing options, 2 different parties, both of them playing their parties incredibly well and making it just a couple second difference here. What is it? 11 seconds between the 2 of them. This is a perfect round 1, and it makes me very excited for an upcoming round 2.
Yeah. If I'm Deadpulse, if I lose by 11 seconds, I know I can win that next round. Such a close game, doesn't demoralize everyone. The nerves are up, but the spirits are not down, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we do know, and to give you all a bit of a heads up, we are going to be moving into Game 2 in the near future here. We do want to give our runners a little bit of a break after such an intense run, and as you know, CC has to restart our computer, we have to roll our seed, and we'll be setting our runners off here in just a couple minutes. But just even thinking back to that seed of it being somewhat linear, but CC trying to do a little bit more of the preparation early, so she could sprint through in the late game, whereas Deadpulse took the early sprint and taking a couple extra levels. That, again, two different approaches, 2 different routes, 2 different parties, 2 very, very good showings on this seed.
Yeah, that was... I don't think we could see a better start to the grand finale of this Final Fantasy Randomizer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well... with that, we're going to give you guys a break too as we turn around this seed. We are going to also have another restream crew come in here after us to take on Game 2, and then Game 3, if needed, will come in shortly after that. But Admiral, do you have any other thoughts? Just kind of closing out this particular run before we head over to our break.
I mean, I was internally betting on the nuke strats myself, so my inner brain is disappointed that nukes lost to a very sharp stick.
Yeah, well, it's nukes plus that. I mean, honestly, that round 1, that level 1 saber and black magic made, I think, as much of a difference as the Massa +1 did. Yeah. Whew. That's all I can say. To answer a couple questions in chat, yes, everything's going to remain here on SG Prime for the remainder of these runs. The flag set for the finals is the same as all of the other flag sets we've done for this SGLive tournament.
If you're more curious about looking at the flag sets yourself or entering Final Fantasy Randomizer yourself, come join the Final Fantasy Randomizer Discord, or check out the website, which it does lead to the Discord, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, FinalFantasyRandomizer.com does have a link to our Discord. And if you are interested in Final Fantasy Randomizer yourself, if this starts to spur up the, hey, that looks like a lot of fun, we are starting our Duckling program. We're going to be starting our Duckling program in the next couple weeks here, which is an 6 to 8 week training session teaching new players all of the ins and outs of the game. Deadpulse actually completed the Duckling program, I want to say maybe around a year ago. And so you can take somebody who's not played the game before and have someone that is up against CC, one of our just traditionally best runners in the game. So definitely check it out. We're going to take a quick break. Stay here on SG Prime. In the next 10-15 minutes, we'll be rolling out another seed and getting round 2 of the Final Fantasy Randomizer Grand Championships rolling here on SG Prime in the next couple minutes. I'm Devious RNG, here with Admiral Tryhard, JLo7 on tracking. Thank you all very much, and stick around.
Yeah, you know it's going to be good to watch.